Everyone has their own reasons for deciding whether or not they want to live frugally. Some people do it short term because they have a goal they want to reach quickly. Other people just do it for a little bit here and there throughout their lives because their checking account needs a boost. And then there are people like me that have a long term end goal, like retirement. And I hit it hardcore a few years before I decided to retire because I wanted to gain my freedom and protect my retirement. Today, I'm going to show you some of the things I did this week that were relaxing and fun and free and cheap. And still, I was able to live frugally and live my best life and protect that retirement. I hope you will come along. Sometimes it's easier to say something can't be done than to put the work into showing that you can accomplish it. I get told that a lot, that what I'm doing is not possible for most people, that it can't be done. But I just choose to live a simple, relaxing retirement. I still travel, I still do all the things that I dreamed of in my retirement, but I save in between those little trips by doing other things that I love that are fun and cheap and relaxing and free. And I make my dollars stretch that way. And I don't think it's really that hard to do. And so I'm going to show you some of the things I did this week that help me gain and retain my freedom. Many times you will see me make one pot meals to stretch a lot of my food. But today I didn't feel like doing the chopping. So I pulled out two chicken breasts. Now these were huge. So I cut them in half to make four chicken breasts. And I decided to make my food stretch and use up some of the things that I have to make a delicious meal with leftovers. I whipped up some of my dandelion bread, and I will link that video at the end, and I picked some fresh dandelions. I had a little bit of basil pesto left that I had made, so I decided to put that on my chicken. I then added some oregano and some salt to my chicken. I've had some corn flakes that needed used up from a past recipe, so I decided to crush those up, put a little bit of butter in a dish and melt that and add my corn flakes for the chicken topper. Since my basil pesto and my cornflakes both had a source of oil in them, I did not add any additional oil, and I pulled out some well-loved tinfoil from camping, as you can see, and baked this at 350 until the chicken was done. This smelled so delicious that it made me think of chicken parmesan. So I pulled out some marinara, I boiled up some gluten-free noodles, and I added some garlic to my dandelion bread and toasted it, and we had a restaurant style meal. So I was really excited about that. I get excited when I use up the last bit of things that I have and I know they didn't go to waste. And I used up the basil pesto, I used up the cornflakes. It made leftovers. And I have to tell you, the sauce that it made off of the chicken between the pesto and the cornflakes and the butter was so delicious. And that's what you see that is on top of my chicken in the clip of my plate. But as you can see, living frugally doesn't mean you go without. It means that you get creative with what you already have, and we eat really well, and we don't spend a lot of money doing it. I'm also back into grandparent mode. I had a soccer game for a grandson this weekend and also a baseball game for a grandson this weekend on two different days. And it's about an hour each direction to go to their games. So, how do I afford all of this running around? I protect my retirement by doing a mystery shop here and there, getting a free meal, getting reimbursed, and then also making a little extra money that pays for my gas. On the way home, I had nothing pressing to do. So I thought, why not just go by one of the local county lakes? It doesn't cost me anything to go in there. I brought my book and I just parked along the edge of the water, rolled down my windows because it was a beautiful day, and sat in my car and read. I also got to see a couple of really interesting birds while I was there, and it was just so peaceful. I find keeping myself in a good state of mind helps me make better decisions. So I try to work in as much relaxation time and time to enjoy things that I love into my retirement because that also protects my retirement. So you may be asking yourself, how does doing things like this protect her retirement? Well, my husband had somebody just this week that came in wanting a job. He didn't need the money. He was 74, he was retired, but his wife was watching Lifetime TV all day long and it was driving him crazy. So he needed to get out of the house. I also watched a TikTok this week of a lady who said, I quit a year ago and now I'm back at the same job volunteering for no money because I'm bored. So, doing things you love and keeping your retirement exciting, even if it doesn't cost you any money, is a way to protect your retirement so that you don't want or feel the need to go back to work because you don't know what to do with yourself. So we can't travel all the time. Even if we did that, it might get old. I've even been told that sometimes living on the beach gets old. I'd like to try that sometimes. But keeping our home an oasis, keeping it where we want to spend time and enjoying the things around us is so important. So I stopped by one of the grocery stores on the way home and I saw they had half price flowers in a basket behind the other flowers. And I needed some mums. I used to have some, but my goats ate them to the quick and killed them off. It's been years since I've had mums, and they were marked down to $3.15. I couldn't pass that up. And as I was planting them, I found that my old mums have finally come back up. It has been years, but they are a different color. What a blessing this was. And I can look right outside my office window and watch them throughout the fall. I decided to spend a little bit of time at our cabin on the back of our property by our two ponds. And while I was sitting on the love seat with my feet crossed and reading my book, I started to feel like I was being watched. And sure enough, Brownie came to check out what I was doing. He circled the cabin several times to make sure that I saw him, and I think he was trying to figure out a way in, but I was able to spend some time with him today, which was really nice. A lot of you ask about him, and he has 5.5 acres to roam on because my niece's property and mine are back to back, and she has her gate open for him too. Hi, Brownie. Thank you for coming to see me. That's my sweet baby. There are so many ways that we can protect our retirement by saving money, by spending carefully, by making sure our debts are paid off before we decide to retire. And one of the biggest things that I did that not everyone agrees with is I paid for my 6 kids to go to college for 4 years. A lot of them have degrees beyond that, but I paid for the first 4 years. I didn't want them to have debt. I wanted them to have a good foundation and be able to get decent jobs and be able to support themselves and their families so that I would not be needed as much financially in the future. I know a few people have those burdens to bear and have to help their children even into adulthood. And I absolutely would do that as well. I would give my kids my last dime if they needed it, but they're all very self sufficient. So that is one way that I feel I protected my retirement, is making sure that they all had a good foundation to be able to take care of themselves. Let me know in the comments below if you're retired or if you're thinking of retiring. What are some ways that you are looking to protect your retirement? Another thing that I do is I do some of these little side jobs, like I showed you the mystery shopping job. When I do those side jobs, all of that money goes directly into my savings. It doesn't go into my monthly spending amount. I put it directly into my savings, and that way I'm continuing to save. I'm continuing to live below my means, and I am protecting my retirement. So if you look up ways to protect your retirement online, you will see things like investing, diversifying your investments, all of these topics that have to do with that. But I personally use CDs and a money market savings account, and I check and see how much the interest is for the length of time on the CDs, and then I just compound that and roll it over without taking any of that interest out. And that is one of the ways that I protect my retirement, is I have a good savings and I have CDs that are drawing interest for some passive income at a high rate of interest. So everybody is going to have different ideas on how to protect your retirement. But if you ask people how to protect their retirement, usually it has to do with money. But I think time and the way that you spend your time and the happiness that you gain from the things that you choose to do with that retirement time is also very important in protecting your retirement, so that you don't decide that there's nothing for you on this side of work. Work has dominated so much of our lives that sometimes it's hard for us to see what our life would look like without that structured schedule that keeps us so busy and so strapped for time. I even encouraged my husband this last week to start his list now of things he wants to do when he retires. He has things on there like zip line and fishing. His is going to look way different than mine, but all of us have things that we've thought about doing or wanted to do, and that doesn't mean we'll check off everything on that list. But that list is so important, because in those times that we get bored, we can look back at that list and say, is there anything on here that interests me? Is there anything on here I haven't done? Or maybe some of these things need marked off and some new things need added to the list, to protect that freedom we worked so hard to gain. So many of us spend a lot of time looking forward to this portion of our life where we don't have so many demands. We don't have demands of our children. We don't have demands on bills. We don't have demands on our time. And learning how to fill that time is just as important as being able to save money and keep debt free. All of this has to be in a good balance for us to protect our retirement.